I found that what people do not need is another book oftentimes. We all need to read and we all need to learn and grow, whether it's through people or books or podcasts or whatever. I think we need new information, but for most of us, what we need is just discipline, determination, grit. Like we need the non-cognitive skills. It's always funny how we like prejudge people in our head before we go and see for ourselves. The direction for this call will be super specific. I'll speak for maybe 5-7 minutes on a couple things about habits that I think you guys will enjoy. Is it possible to quit the habit of doing heroin every day in one night?
Again, it depends on how long you've been doing it for.
Say
100%.
they've been doing it for a year.
100%. Easy.
Cool. Shane?
Easy.
I don't know. Maybe if you like go to like fucking drink some ayahuasca or something. That's the only way I fucking know, man.
Okay.
Iboga, yeah.
So
Iboga,
yes,
yeah.
the answer is yes with a condition, and it's ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Okay, Bradley.
Ibogaine.
And what?
Ibogaine is the one for opiates.
Okay. In case we got some drugs in the mix, Bradley, what do you think? No.
No, I think it'd be tough. Like I said, again, it's a bit like when you're smoking and everything. If you do it for so long, or it depends on how long you've been doing it for each day or each repetition, it can be of a addiction which you can't get out of your system. And then, like I said, you'll have to take pretty much the same time, or maybe even a bit longer, to try and get it out of your system.
Yeah, like my brother's on methadone right now. He was a bad opiate addict himself, so it's a bad one.
Okay, well, I've got a study I want to share with you to potentially answer that question for us. Let's take a journey back to 1971. The USA is fighting in Vietnam. President Nixon, gets word some of these motherfuckers are doing heroin. 35% of the troops have tried it. 15% are addicted. And so Nixon's like freaking out because he knew that the troops were coming back to the US. He's like, well, we got to get these guys some support. They fought for us in their country. We need to set up some more rehab facilities so we can take on this load of 15% of all the troops there addicted to heroin. They were like kind of freaking out. So the troops come back and they go to the rehab facilities that they had set up. And something really strange happened. They were shocked. They looked at these troops, and after 1 year, only 5% of the troops that were addicted relapsed. After 3 years, only 12% of them relapsed. I think, how the fuck is that possible? And by the way, none of them went to rehab. They all went to their houses, their homes. How is that possible? So in James Clear's book, he talks about how our environment dictates our behavior. Behavior is context dependent. When you're in Vietnam and all the boys around you are doing heroin, and that is your cue, and you start to do it every day repeatedly, and you get down to the bunker, you get back after a long day, there's certain things in your environment that will cue you to create a craving for that heroin, at which point you'll likely do heroin. But what they found was our environment and our context is so powerful for building habits that guys can come back fully addicted to heroin and in one night not relapse for a year, for 3 years. But it also goes the same way in the US. People that go to rehab, if they're addicted to alcohol, drugs, whatever, studies show that when they come back from that rehab facility and they go back into their day-to-day life, back into their home, their old triggers, 90% of them relapse. Our environment is that powerful that 90% of the time we will go back to that behavior or what we did in that environment. That's super cool. Now I have another question for you guys. Had a little bit of fun. Does anybody here want to become obese? Be honest. Does anybody here really want to become obese? Any yet? No? Probably going to be no, hey? Okay. Well, if you ever decide that you want to become obese, I have an amazing strategy for you. It's like, it is top fucking notch, okay? I got the best obesity strategy of all time. So step number 1, start eating as much as you can. Step number 2, what you're going to want to do is go find an obese person and do everything you can to befriend them. You need to go find an obese person and become their friend. Here's why. There was a study done over 32 years that had 12,000 participants that they studied. Out of those 12,000 participants, they found something very interesting over those 32 years. They found that if you had one obese friend, excuse me, you gained one obese friend, that your likelihood of becoming obese yourself increased by 57%. 57 by only having one increase in your obese friend group. So if what you want to do is get obese, then I highly recommend you start eating a bunch of food and go find an obese friend. Because the truth is, you guys, the people that we spend our time with, the environment that we're in affects us a hell of a lot more than we think. Because if we think about the obesity example or anything that we want to improve in our life, whether it's health, wealth, relationships, for example, happiness, joy during the day, we have to take a look at our friends and our environment first. Because if we go down to the tiniest single cell in our body, it needs a nurturing environment if it wants to sustain itself, if it wants to grow. So we need to take a look at what our environment is and how it's affecting us, because it affects us a hell of a lot more than we think. 57, just one obese person, 57%. That blew my freaking, I read that this morning. I'm like, I got to share this. It blew my mind. Yeah, guys, like environment is the shit. And so when I come and talk about habits, I could tell you about cue, craving, response, reward. I could tell you about, ways to build a habit, make it sustainable. But number one, like get into a friend group where the desired behavior is normal, because we have a huge desire to be accepted into the tribe, into the group. And to do that, like if you want to build the habit of exercise, befriend people who it's normal to exercise and to never skip a workout. If you're friends with those people, you're 57% more likely to do that. 57%, that's crazy. And just the same, if you have friends that eat, drink, smoke, you're 57% more likely to do those things without you consciously like doing it. It's just like the shit that happens. So that's all. What's your question, Shane?
I was just going to say, I heard something like David Goggins said something like that. And he said that we choose sometimes to hang out with certain people because like some people, like, well, we don't want to hang out with the type of friends that like, you know what I mean? Like you just said, like, no, let's go for a fucking run. Come on. We want to hang out with the friends that want to sit down and watch TV and eat a pizza or whatever, because it's easier. Do you know what I mean?
100%, man. And something else I want to add on to that, you just brought up a great point, is that when we have the decision like this, like, should I eat the pizza and stay in or should I go for the run? That overthinking of should I do this or that, it causes pressure inside of us. Should I do this? Should I do that? Oh my God, I don't know. And what do humans do? Exactly what you just said. We take the path of least resistance, and we usually go for the pizza because we know for sure it'll relieve the pressure that we've built up in ourselves, all from overthinking. So thank you for bringing that up. And it's like, yeah, friends are so important. So I know in my life that like the best changes have come from changing my friend circle and changing my environment, which I've done probably like 4 times now in the last 6 months living in Bali. And I did it every time because I wanted the next level of life. And I was dissatisfied with some area of my life, and I switched my environment in a major way. Right now I'm living in a place where I haven't told any of my old friends where I live. And I'm basically just like fully focused now. But I also did this when I was smoking weed, drinking every weekend, binge eating on food, 4 or 5 years ago. I had friends that did that too. And then what I did, the first thing I did, because I didn't know what else to freaking do, I cut all my friends off. I basically just started saying no, locked myself in my room, read a bunch of books, started traveling, and my entire life changed. I don't credit myself for a lot of it. It took discipline to get through it, but I credit like just choosing the right environment. It's like nothing special. It's like literally we become our environment. Like I can't stress this enough. And every time I read a new study or experience in my own life, this point just gets drilled into my skull again and again. Like it's just incredible how much it actually affects us. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope this got through to you and pierced you a little bit and made you want to change up your environment a little bit. If there's something that you want in your life, my answer is environment first.